This is going to be a strange thing to articulate because I've never tried to actually say this out loud. But there are multiple ways that my intuition works. I think that all people are intuitive inherently. Some are more in tune with it than others. And I think that there are also multiple ways in which intuition presents. But I've always had this ability to envision a scenario in my head, and it almost feels like projecting my perspective or consciousness into like a potential reality or a potential timeline, and see how that feels, and if what I'm envisioning actually aligns with my body or nervous system. I've always really prided myself on this uncanny, somewhat intangible ability because it's really helpful for long-term visioning and planning. Really being able to see if you can feel into the future and envision it in your mind's eye, and if that feels like something that you can ground down or connect to or embody in your being. Again, this is a very abstract thing to try to articulate out loud, but I want to tell you all, this could have gone either way. Now, a part of me is like, yeah, this country is sexist, this country is racist, and a mixed black woman winning was low. Plus, the Democrats' platform is terrible, and it was not going to be compelling. In any, yeah, that was never going to be the case. But I saw in my mind's eye, I would see in my mind, President Harris, and seeing her, walking on the tarmac and waving, and feeling that, what that feels like, and feeling that timeline, and feeling that as a potential reality. And it felt real, like it felt plausible in my body. And then I would see, President Trump, and see that in my mind's eye, and kind of feel that in my body, and that felt plausible too. There's also something else here that feels unstable, that's hard to articulate, where I can still actually see and feel how neither of those scenarios play out. Like, there's a part of me that is still actually a bit hesitant about Trump. But I'm saying this because I want to say two things. Actually, I know this is a little tangential and all over the place. One, I do believe that timeline splits are real. I do believe that there are potentials that are so loaded where, just a certain amount of variables makes it shift into one direction, but that doesn't mean that the other timeline wasn't plausible and wasn't something that could actually come into fruition. It's a very interesting thing to think about, is to hold the kind of the endless multitudes of reality. I'm sure there's some like quantum physics theories around this shit, but yeah, I think that's real and I think that's viable. However, I had this thought yesterday. Because I know what next year energetically begins, which is a truly, truly unprecedented, monumental shift in the course of human history, 2025. The alignments that start happening next year. You all know I'm an astrologer. I study planets. I also study energy, y'all. A lot of this has to do with the process that I started, these videos describing, of really being able to see and feel into the future. And I know I can feel, and I can see, and I can witness and observe, and even track with like transits what is coming. The kind of revolution that is like bubbling up and stirring. And I had a thought yesterday that I didn't know that the Harris timeline was actually aligned with that. like what the kind of pacifying, glossing over, delaying of the inevitable, kind of very shallow level coddling comfort that that kind of presidency provides. I was just like, that's not it. That's not the energy. I think it has to be Trump. I had that thought all day yesterday. Just kind of in the back of my mind, like, I think Trump, his energy, his chaos, his what I think he really speaks to, like what I've always felt like it was his destiny to do, which was to lead America into its end, like to lead it into its doom. Like, it just seems so right. I'm not saying right morally. I'm not that's not what I mean by it's right. It just, yeah, no, it aligns. It makes sense. And so there's a part of me that's been like, because I was thinking, how are we going to get to revolution if people are able to hold on to any facade or illusion of what this place purports to be, which it's not. And so with Trump winning and a Republican sweep across the board, mind you, we have a Republican majority Congress now, Senate and the House. I'm like, yeah, no, that's it. That makes sense. That aligns with the astrology. That aligns with the energy I've been perceiving. That aligns with where we're heading. Like, that is the kind of energy that spurs revolution. That's the kind of energy that spurs anger and action. And I know this may not be what people want to hear right now. I'm not really, I don't know. I know a lot of people have been sad and grieving and mourning. That's not really how I feel. I've gotten some texts like, I'm sending love, I'm like, guys, I'm not upset. I'm not upset because I always saw this as a viable possibility. And actually, if I think about what I've been perceiving for years and even a lot of what I've been saying for years, this outcome makes the most sense. So I'm not stunned. I'm not shocked. I'm not like, oh, I really want a Harris. I didn't fucking want Harris. Obviously, I didn't want Trump either. But I think Trump provides the kind of polarization and instability that will propel us into the change that is necessary for us to take action in. And that's whether he becomes, president for the next 4 years or not. Honestly, I actually don't see that happening. There's so many unpredictable variables still floating around in the air, and it's strange to feel which ones are going to actually come into fruition. But yeah, I actually think that there's something very oddly comforting about this, because it's like where we actually are is put out into the open. There's no mask, there's no illusions. We see where we stand a little bit more clearly on a day like today. Again, I don't know what that mobilization and what that unification and what that collective empowering that leads to action looks like. I think it looks like many different things. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, yeah, this could have looked like something else. I really saw and felt that. But I also never fully underestimated this. And it's actually kind of like, oh, okay, bet. Word. So that's what we doing. Like, yeah, it is what it is. Okay, cool. We know that for sure now. Let's now stop entertaining the shit that we already knew wasn't working anyway and start coming up with something new. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, this is all very scattered and all over the place. But I kind of think we're actually, all things considered, on the timeline that fast tracks imminent change and radical action.